Welcome back to another episode of the Looters Atlantis dev blog. This is episode 7, coming here with some more updates. So yeah, excited to finally be making another episode. So I believe last time we made an episode, we talked about the new town interface, we talked about the pause button, and a bunch of other changes as well and fixes. And I've got a lot more to talk about today, and I, want to continue making episodes probably bi-weekly at this point, but maybe more just non-update episodes, maybe just other episodes. I think Curtis said he wanted to make like a designers kind of dev talk video with the two of us, so stay tuned for that. I might post that in the next coming weeks, hopefully. That's something that he wanted to do, so we'll probably do stuff like that, maybe do Q&A stuff, whatever, once we get more people joining the Discord, which I'm going to touch on later in the video. But anyway, so on to the new updates. So first update that I did was, and I've shown it a little bit, but there is a console that I've integrated and added into the game, mainly used for the devs. So I will not be going over what those commands are, and that will be on a need-to-know basis. But what I've done now is I made it where it's accessible not just from in-game, but also from the title screen. And I've also changed how it draws. So it's a lot bigger. So you can see that is there. And if you're playing this and you happen to find this hotkey, or the hotkey that activates this, no worries. I've added a new command to do something that's gonna kind of make it easier to have one version of the game. Initially I was doing like I mentioned there was a sandbox dev mode of the game, build of the game, and there's gonna be a non-dev build of the game. And now with this new command, I'll be able to have it where I just tell whoever I want to have access to that sandbox mode and dev commands to have that command, and that'll be for very trusted play testers to be able to play the game in dev mode and kind of have access to all the cards, have access to sandbox mode, which has access to all the cards obviously, and different characters like Chidi, which is the dev character, and stuff like that. So I will quickly go ahead and disable the dev mode, and now you can see here sandbox mode is no longer clickable. I can't click on it, nothing happens. Now if I was to go click new game, I only see the 3 main characters that we currently have implemented in the game. Right now, Ian's kind of like the main character right now. He's the one that's going to have more quest-based dialogue in the beginning, at least in the early alpha and open alpha of the game. Joe and Fred are going to be changed, at least in their names and in their lore. Right now, they don't really have a lot of lore. Ian right now is he'll be tied with the Celtics, which would be cool. And if you want to learn more about the lore, we'll maybe do another video talking about the lore a little more. And now that I've re-enabled dev mode, you can see Sandbox is back open. And there's Chidi, and Chidi will be kind of our, everything character that has the full stats, like I mentioned in previous videos, and have all the tags and all the specials. You'll be able to also enable and disable this within game too. So if you load a game and you know the command, you can play in story mode and then enable the dev mode to have access to all the cards if you want and whatnot. It's not like a perfect system right now, but at least there's a way to do it in game and out of game. I also can't type any of the other commands from this screen, only in game and only if I have dev mode access. So that's just a streamlined way of us managing that so that we can have it all in one build. So that's a new command. I also mentioned in the last video I wanted to add like a dialogue slider and get difficulty sliders for some of the gameplay. Now I've added the difficulty sliders, but they aren't, as you can see, they're grayed out because the difficulties are not implemented yet for those different modes. They're defaulted at 3. I think that's what they're going to be defaulted at, and there'll be a breakdown of those difficulties once those are implemented, and I'll probably have the text displayed next to them too for those difficulties specifically. The dialogue speed is implemented, and I'll show those dialogues in game. So you can see what those different speeds are, but you can see I can scroll through, I can click through, I can drag. And there were some bugs with the saving of the sliders that should now be fixed. Before, if you'd played or seen the videos of the previous iterations, when I was first adding these, they did not save correctly, and that included audio as well. So now with the audio sliders, you can hear it changing in real time, which is a nice change. So if I do this, if I scroll, yeah, you can hear it get louder and then quieter. So that's nice. And now this will, and that's will also, I think, yeah, that'll include the UI volume as well. You can hear it changing in real time. So that'll be really cool. And another kind of bug fix I did was you can see I'm in windowed mode right now, so you can see all my tabs and whatnot and stuff on the taskbar. And the reason why I'm showing that is because I have done some bug fixes to the resolution dropdown. So now it wasn't saving the window size before, and that's all this really is a window size for windowed mode. I'm not sure exactly the technicalities of how other games prefer to do this, but yeah, you can see here, go back, and now it's applying. If I was to quit the game and come back, this would be applied. I can go back and change it back to this real quick. If I were to, I don't know why also it does this weird thing where it goes over the taskbar. Not sure what that is. If anybody that knows Game Maker better can explain that, maybe that would be great. But yeah, I can go to borderless and that will, or full screen, and that will disable this drop down. Even if I go into windowed and click that, it'll collapse it and all that cool stuff. And if you know the difference between borderless and full screen, borderless I can click off and on the window and it won't, you know, freak out, whereas in full screen typically it freaks out. This should make it where you can change the window size. Now there might be some things Curtis mentioned as well with aspect ratio for like ultra wide monitors, so that's something I'll probably look into in the future when we have more playtesters that maybe have ultra wide monitors that want to have those gray borders. I know Game Maker does a lot of the aspect scaling in engine, to my knowledge. Correct me if you know more about Game Maker than me. But yeah, these two settings are not implemented yet. Controls are going to have all the keybinds. That shouldn't be too hard to implement, but that's something I want to do later on as I get more of the controller, you know, stuff implemented and whatnot for a controller settings, and I'll have those added all together. Yeah, so that's the settings changes. Now, if we go into the game, there are some updates to the town. So yeah, there's been some changes to the dialogues. Now with the town interface, Curtis went in and updated the dialogue files to work for Port Pollux and Port Caster. So these should now all completely work with the new town interface, and I'll go ahead and show that now. And then I also did some tweaks with the dialogue and the town interface graying out. So now there won't be dialogue at the beginning until you go into something. And there was a bug with W and S that was in space where it was getting stuck in an infinite loop. So that's been fixed now too. Also, you can see Daniel's warehouse. So if you've been paying attention to the lore, Daniel Huseth is the one that you steal the cannons from in the beginning. And you can see here I don't have that dialogue option or that response option unlocked because I haven't gone and recruited crew, which I can do here. Every building will have an option to leave, like the tavern or leave whatever. And that'll bring you back to here. You can see the market has that. There's the dialogue. If I pause here, now all this is grayed out, but the town is not anymore. So that's been fixed. And this gets grayed out when you're not able to click on it. So that's good. And then boom, the dialogue now gets hidden when you're not in dialogue, but you're in the town interface, if that makes sense. I can go to the town and recruit crew. I'll do that in a second. I think I want to go over some other changes probably first. And I'll probably start with Jack Straw here. So there's a couple things I want to go over. So one of those things is I mentioned I was going to work on the card active card animation outline. So I have changed that now. So if you hold down on here, you can see I did my best to try to animate that sprite. It's not great, to be honest. It looks cool, like the coloring aspect is kind of what I was going for, but the corners are really the only part that are animated. You can see some of the textures kind of animated, but I could not get it to look right. So again, it's placeholder anyway. But yeah, you can see when I hold it, the banner at the top and in the middle doesn't change anymore because I've made it all one sprite, so it saves on sprite assets. But now there's a animated sprite behind the card sprite, and that should look better than the yellow did. And it also, the scaling is done uniformly now, so it's all one sprite actually scaling, stuff like that. It's a bunch of technical mumbo jumbo. Doesn't really matter, but yeah, eventually we'll probably have an artist that goes in and makes a more swirly looking backdrop animation for the cards. And another thing that was added to cards is there's a new floating point kind of, you know, damage and parry numbers that pop up, and I'll go here in the training dummy to demonstrate that. So yeah, you can see it also shows here. So if I go and do basic thrust, boom, there it is. You can see that number pops up right there. Do that again. Yeah, I tried to put like a little bit of a black outline on the number so it's more visible. I know some games do numbers and stuff different ways, but I added those as little kind of hit point damage things, so you can actually see the damage you're doing in game. So there's that. So that'll be cool. I'll also add some like kind of impact lines in the future too. Like those, that'll be like a little animated thing where you attack somebody. But yeah, slowly and steadily, just adding more little cool features. Oh yeah, with parry, it adds a blue text. So the way it works logically is the closer it gets to a certain number, it goes from white to blue, whereas damage goes from white to red. Curtis is colorblind, so that's something I wanted to mention. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because a lot of the design choices are I try to build around that understanding, and also there will be more accessibility settings later on for those who are also colorblind and also have need those details and textures to be set correctly. So that's what I try to have in mind. Certain red-blue combinations, red-green combinations won't work in the game for him to be able to test and play and see things. That was something with with the ocean, for example. The old texture for the ocean wasn't visible for that reason. And to be honest, it wasn't a good texture anyway. So that's been changed. You can see Force Glyph, you get the +8. So that was the new floating point numbers. And that should happen for also their attacks too. So if they attack you, that they should give you numbers. Honestly, I haven't fully tested it out, but it should be doing that now for their intent attacks. If they attack you, or if they give each other parry or whatever, or if they do damage to each other for some reason, that should all be working. So that's another cool little thing I added. If you want to give feedback on that, definitely join the Discord. That will be linked in the description if you want to play the game and give feedback on some of these little features for, saying, hey, the numbers aren't really that visible, or hey, the numbers could be smaller or bigger, whatever. Move faster. I can control all of that in the code. Another thing I wanted to show. So let's get back into the duel real quick. There is another change I wanted to show with the card animation in mind. So yeah, you can see now when I hover over, it just changes the alpha. If I click one, there's that white outline for the discard, and yeah, that should be a little better. It also brings it to the forefront so it goes over, and the alpha kind of gets changed here when you hover over it. But yeah, so I can now discard, let's say I discard basic cards. Boom, there it is. That's new. And I also did that change for Blackjack, which I'll show in a little bit. But first I'm going to show the new change, small little tweak with lights out. So let's go ahead and actually no, Blackjack comes first. Sorry, so we'll show Blackjack first. So yeah, there's been some small changes to Blackjack, some bug fixes, and some changes to when you do these different cheats. Peak, top deck, mulligan, I believe. Yeah, draw a card, discard, and then cut their deal. Those are the 4 cheats that use either discarding a card or swapping a card or selecting a card. So like, for example, with peak, you can see now all these have a yellow outline, and there's a button, and the text moved from here down to here. And also there was a bug where these buttons and these hotkeys were still enabled when you're doing peak, for example. So that's been fixed. So if I go here and I do this, I can do that. I can click on any of these cards now, and it should properly, swap to that selected card. So, and then I can declick it to not confirm. But once I click confirm, it'll go out of that, and then boom, there we go. The peak's been used. And then same thing for like this one. This one's similar, but it's got green for the selected. I believe that was the same there, but I can choose when to discard. I'm gonna do that, I guess. And if I do top deck, yeah, top deck is a little different. It's gonna be blue. And let's say I do 8. Yeah, it goes from blue to green. And yeah, boom, there we go. Same thing with, cut through deal. Sure, I'll do that. Why not? There we go. But yeah, now you can see that has been changed. So now it should be more obvious when you're doing one of these cheats and what they actually do. And also, I've been meaning to add the new music for Blackjack and all the other modes and all the other locations. So that's going to be coming in the future. So that is, yeah, so you can see here, it takes you back here to the tavern dialogue, and I can go back and leave town. Boom, there we go. I can also still click on these things, so I'm going to click here and steal the cannons and show you the little lights out change real quick. So the only change really here is that now there's numbers indicating which cell you're looking at now. So let's say you are like, hey, I have the solution for this specific puzzle, and you say it's 1, 3, whatever, blah, 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 depending on how many moves there are. And so now you can kind of call out which cell numbers there are. So that would be kind of cool. So that was the lights out kind of tweak there. You'll be able to, see those numbers. And the last little change, I believe, is with, so now I'm over here on Crosswinds, and we've updated a couple things. So first of all, Sally Shack has its own sprite now. It's using the house sprite from the town interface, and it's also not interactable because the dialogue is going to be done through Sally Knack. This is a temporary asset I'm using for Sally Knack. That's going to be, if you paid attention to the lore, that's Salty Dog's niece. And so Sally Knack lives in Sally Shack. This is kind of northwest of Crosswinds. Yeah, I think not Crosswinds, Port Confluence, which I was using before for the town interface. So it's going to be up here whenever Crosswinds gets added. So more stuff gets added to it. So yeah, Curtis is going to be working on the dialogue for Sally, and I've added the portrait for Sally Knack and her dialogue once her dialogue gets added to the game. And there will also be more quest lines and stuff through here later on, and music. So right now it's really quiet. Yeah, because right now it just does nothing. So yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I think that's just about everything that I wanted to go over. I think it's going to be a pretty short video today. So the next thing I'm going to be working on is looking for some new tile sets for some of the other maps. There's going to be a map that has like swamp tiles and whatnot, so that'll be kind of cool. I don't know, I want to find a tile set that's still matches our art style for the time being, even though a lot of this might be placeholder and temporary or just lower scale. Curtis worded it perfectly. We want to go from 2D pixel art sprite to more 2D art style, at least for most of the art, and while still keeping it consistent. So that's something that we're going to be doing later on. But yeah, I want to look on for like a stone road tile set for some of the more advanced roads and maybe some of the other maps. I'm not sure which maps will have the road tiles yet. And then reeds and stuff like that for Portobello, which is another island that you'll find later. Let's see. And then also the next big change I want to make is the map. So I've mentioned this before. I want to make a map. Looking at some of the games, I know Curtis said he thinks he wants it like maybe top right corner and moving this to the center. Personally, I'm thinking either putting it right here next to these buttons or maybe the bottom right corner. He says that's like the no-go zone, but I don't know. I will look at other games to see what other 2D art games use for their map button. I think a game I was looking at recently, Fields of Mysteria, they're also a game made in Game Maker that if you've heard of, like, you know, if you play Stardew Valley or Crescent Moon, like the other ones that Stardew Valley was based on, it's similar to Stardew Valley. It's a game that was recently released, I think, in the last year, and isn't, shout out to them, you know, but that is a game that, you know, not that we want to do that art style, but we definitely want to get to that quality of art and design and UI. I think we're getting there, but yeah. So my point bringing that up is, yeah, I want to put the map somewhere and figure out how I want to design the map and that system. And then there'll be more kind of back-end dev stuff that we want to do. And the cards I mentioned before, yeah, those still have not been added yet. Those will be added in the future. Yeah, I think now is a good time to talk about, right before I, you know, end it off. The last thing I want to talk about is the kind of the next phases is, now I kind of want to focus on, you know, talking more about the game, talking more about getting people to play the game and getting people in the Discord. So that'll probably be what we'll be focusing on more going forward for the next few months until January, is getting, you know, play testers, getting people that have never played the game, never, you know, seen my channel or whatever, to join the Discord, play the game. And so that's probably going to be what I focus on more, especially with, you know, starting my new job and stuff soon here. Getting some of that feedback and getting changes made based on some of that feedback and bug fixes that we find. So that's gonna be my goal for the next you know, however long, but I'll still be obviously making changes and working on the game, adding new stuff. Curtis will be adding more stuff to Crosswinds and whatnot, but I need to update the closed alpha build of this game. Probably get rid of the dev build that I had floating around. I'll probably be working on updating that here soon with the changes I've shown now and all the bug fixes I've done. Aside from that, that's pretty much what I want to do. Focus on getting more people talking about the game, getting more of a fan base, and promoting the game more. So yeah, if you're watching this video and it's your first time, you know, obviously like, subscribe, follow for more. Join the Discord. Again, like I said before, link in the description. We definitely want to, you know, spread the word and get more people playing the game. I think that's pretty much everything I want to talk about. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.